What's up, YouTube? Mid-range game back again. NBA season finally over. We have us a champion, a bubble champion or a real champion. We'll talk about that going on. This is your boy Brent. Over here, I got my boy Dean.
What's up?
HD Dean. Brent does
Dean.
have a new camera. I'm kind of HD. There's still some, you see the scragglies now. I got to shave better, I guess.
We'll fine tune it. We'll get him tuned in so that he's looking super crispy, but it's still an improvement, man. We're on our way up, This is low budget, we're DIY, we're doing it ourselves.
If you saw the setup right now with paper towels hanging over lights and stuff like that,
He sent me a picture, so it's coming in the video. I would do that to you. I might do it. All right. But hey, man, Lakers won. The Lakers won.
They did.
I'm happy it's over. Like, if it went to 7, I can only imagine like the media blitz that would have been on LeBron and he's going to blow it and the whole 9. I called 6 games.
Good.
And here's how I knew I was going to be right. Jimmy Butler at the end of game 5 with only 1 day rest in between, he was toast. You could tell he was toast. You could tell he gave everything he had. He played amazing. And, pat on both of our backs because we said that he would have to play out of his comfort and try to go for 40 every game. And he did that in their 2 wins. I think he got 40 and then like 35. But it just shows that he's just not LeBron, right? He doesn't have that. LeBron did it in game 5 where I was like, I don't know about you with game 5. When I saw game 5, I was like, this is some of the best basketball I've seen LeBron play.
Yeah.
And then for them to lose, I was like, well, LeBron can do it again. I believe LeBron can do it again. But Jimmy, I don't know if he has another one in him. And sure enough, the game was over before it really started, man. But it was, when you're down 30 at half, you're just not coming back. It had to be such a mind job to be down like that at halftime.
Well, and you could tell like this is the Laker team that everybody was afraid of, right? They were hitting on all cylinders. I mean, KCP was doing circus shots and left-handed layups and hitting his shots. Danny Green hit a couple jumpers. LeBron was killing it. They're doing alley-oops to each other. Like, I mean, Rondo. This Joker Rondo was, you couldn't stop him going to the basket. He was going to the basket doing his thing. And this is what you're afraid of when you see that Lakers squad, that not just LeBron and AD are going to pull the weight, but when their role players get to going and their defense is on, I think that was a recipe for disaster for the Heat. And honestly, that's not how the Lakers played all finals. I mean, they did in some games, but they were on fire, and the Heat were in trouble. I mean, they were tired. But you see that video I sent you in Instagram where they showed Jimmy Butler getting up from like a press conference or whatever, and he was walking pretty much like Fred Sanford back to the locker room after game 5. It was after game 5.
There's a couple things that I wanted to just touch on. The first thing is, did I yell at the screen when Danny Green missed a wide open jumper to win the game in game 5? Yes. But did I send him death threats? No. Like, the fact that he and his fiance were getting death threats, like, get a grip, people. Like, there's bigger things going on. Basketball should be something that we fall back on to relax and watch and maybe get hyped, but you don't get hyped enough to where you're doing death threats. Did I also yell at Markieff Morris? Yup. When he threw, I yelled at him. But you don't send death threats. Like, get a grip, people. Seriously, it's just basketball. The other person that I think deserves a shout out, who I think a lot of people thought would be a 0 addition, is Dwight Howard. Right. Did he have a big impact on these finals? No. But he had a big impact in the last series. He was really good in game 1. The Heat just made adjustments to make it so that he was unplayable. And finally, Vogel accepted that he wasn't playable and started Caruso. So those are kind of like my game 5, 6 like takeaways, is that people got to chill out. Right? Like, we all thought Danny Green's jumper was broke, but relax.
Yeah.
And then, I was really happy for Dwight Howard. I was really happy for LeBron. I was happy for AD. I was happy for the Heat because they were already a free agent destination, and
Right.
being, doing this well, it just shows that Jimmy Butler is probably a number 2. I mean, maybe he's a number 1. I mean, he couldn't do it all series, couldn't do it every game. So probably better suited to be your second best player, I think, but
Right.
still just a beast, man.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, like, speaking of Jimmy Butler, uh he's always had kind of that journeyman type career, right? Where he just hard worked himself into being a very good player. And I think his performance against LeBron, AD, I mean, when you have to get AD put on you for defense in order to try to stop you or slow you down, and he still got triple doubles and two triple doubles in the finals. I think Jimmy Butler, at least for me, gets a higher level of respect than I was giving him. Uh, I always had him down as a lower tier player, but Jimmy Butler, the one thing I respect about his game, that he doesn't get desperate and start playing out of himself. Like some of these guys, I mean, I hate to beat up on Russ, but Russell Westbrook, for example, uh, and he should do like Jimmy and have a great mid-range game, and every now and then shoot threes when they're open. Jimmy Butler is not out there gunning, threes 5 feet behind the line just because LeBron did it or because Steph Curry can do it and James Harden is doing it. He stays in his wheelhouse and he's very good at what he does. And one thing that Jimmy Butler did, which is why he was so beat up, is even if he can't score over AD on every bucket, he's still throwing his body in every play, and he got to the line quite a bit because they have to foul him because how he's getting to the basket. And so he had a lot of foul shots, and he was hitting those free throws as tired as he was. And so I give mad props to Jimmy Butler. They were missing Dragic, man. That really hurt them, a 20-point scorer. I know he came in at the end of the first quarter in this last game, but he wasn't anywhere near 100%. Liability on defense. He just had to try to come in and play. They said he was warming up in game 5 before the game, and actually they showed him being emotional when he realized he wouldn't be able to come in and play because he really, really wanted to play for them. And I think he just willed his way to try to play in game 6, but it wasn't. He didn't live up to what they needed, which is him at 100%.
Yeah, I do give the Heat a lot of props. I think a lot of teams would have rolled over. After the first 2 games, they probably would have got game 3. But when the Lakers came back and got game 4, I think a lot of teams would have just mailed it in, and they didn't. Game 6, they just didn't have anything left. And I still, even if Dragic played the series, do I think it would have been more entertaining? Sure, but the Lakers were still the best team. Do I think is it always better to see a team, at 100% versus, 80%, 90%? Sure. But the Lakers still the best team. Injuries happen. We saw it last year with the Raptors and Golden State. And it's got to just be a bummer for a guy to work that hard and just not be able to go. Like it has to be a killer. But so let's get into it. The Lakers win their 12th or 17th title, depending on, how you look at it. I know Bill Simmons is all about, look, guys, it's 12. Okay. We're not counting the Minneapolis one. So, but
Right.
wherever you fall on that, let's talk about the main guy, year 17. LeBron James gets his 4th finals MVP. Both of us kind of thought AD would have to be kind of take over the mantle. But if anything, this kind of showed that he's ready to defensively, but he's not ready to offensively, because in their losses, he was not great offensively. And even in their wins, he was good, but he wasn't LeBron James good.
I think AD, I always equate him to like a ballerina on the basketball court. When he got it going, it is pretty to watch. I mean, him around the basket. But I noticed when the Heat were D'ing him down, sometimes some of his stuff was a little desperate and he was flailing around and falling on the ground and things. And it just seems like when he's trying to force the issue, he kind of loses himself a little bit, and I think that's what LeBron wants him to be: ballerina, sweet fingers and sweet touch on the ball, or whatever you call him, whatever you want to call it. I think LeBron wants him to do that all the time. Sweet fingers. Yeah.
That's
I think LeBron wants that all the time, but LeBron James is LeBron James, and that's the key. And I think now I hate to say this, but I think it's true. I think the Lakers play up to their competition, right? I think LeBron wants he wants the role players to do their job. He wants AD to go down there and dominate. And when he has to take it because he needs the win, then you see the great LeBron James at the great LeBron James level. Like he's like, I just have to make this happen. And so the playoffs looked harder for the Lakers because the rest of the cast weren't really doing as much. And then LeBron has to show up and be like, okay, I know they gentlemen sweeped everything, but the Lakers did not make this look easy. Like they weren't blowing out anybody except this last game, really.
Right.
Like a lot of these games, like against Denver, that didn't look easy. And the other games of these against the Heat, it didn't look easy. A lot of those games were hard fought for them.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of made me wonder how some of these games would look with a home and away.
Right.
You know, that crowd pumping your role players up. I go back to that over and over again. I praise the Heat young guys for playing so well. I really doubt that they play that well on the road. You know, this was a neutral site. So I think at a neutral site, this was a 6-game series. If it had to go back and forth, I think it's probably a 5-game series. I still think the Heat would have got one, but you're depending on these young guys on the road to try to do the things they were doing. I don't see it. You saw that Hero was not the same in the last couple games. They shut down Duncan Robinson for the most part in this last game. And you're right. I think the Lakers play to their defense, and their defense was on point. LeBron was on point, and it just comes down to if they hit shots. I mean, Rondo looked like a different player in this game.
Oh my God.
He looked in game 5, he was terrible. But in this game, it was like he saw the writing on the wall too. Like, we need to get this done. Mm-hmm. And they were all locked in, and they knew the Heat were gassed, and they put their foot on the pedal and went. And if the Lakers are hitting outside shots with their defense and what LeBron and AD can do on the inside, there was nobody, Clippers included, if they had not lost to the Nuggets, that were going to beat them if the role players are shooting the way they did last night.
You're going to see them do something else. I think Rob Pelinka and them, you're going to see them do something else, I think, over the offseason as well, to make sure that they have a little more consistency probably out of some of the role players, maybe bolster up some of those guys. You don't need a top 3, but you never know. You never know what some of these other guys, just like Boogie Cousins, technically he signed to them but got hurt. And so you may see something like that in the offseason again with the Lakers. Because like I said, LeBron had to fight for the they had to play hard. And I think LeBron, he says he has 4 or so more years left in him. AD's a free agent, and we know he'll probably stay with them. But I think that they're going to have to get more consistency from these role players for the Lakers if they're going to try to make a run.
Where does this put? Let's do the ESPN thing.
Okay.
So where does this put LeBron? Does he jump anybody? You saw Paul Pierce, who didn't even have him in his top 5, say that he's now solidified at number 2 because of this ring.
Right.
Does this solidify him in your mind at all? Like, where does he go on your list right now?
Me personally, I already kind of had him at number 2. Even though he's played for now, this is 3rd team and got a championship on 3rd ring. And I know a lot of people like the loyalty where Jordan them got it on 1 and everything. And I know it's hard when you have to talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, maybe Bill Russell in that situation. But generally, we're talking about Michael Jordan on top, and then who's there, and did LeBron pass him? I think it's going to be hard for LeBron to pass Michael Jordan just because of the era in which Michael Jordan played basketball.
Right.
Essentially, people were beating people up and that wasn't even a foul. Literally no blood, no foul was how
Right.
they played back
Some
then.
prison rules back then.
Also, when we look at the list of the greatest players ever, Michael Jordan is the shortest. All the rest of them are all LeBron next at like 6'9". Then you got Kareem at like 7 foot, Bill Russell up there at 6'11", 7 foot, and Jordan is the shortest. And being that dominant of a scorer at a guard is just, I think, displays his level of talent. So that's me personally. I love Michael Jordan, but I like LeBron James as well. But I think, like you said, 1A, 1B, because when it comes to generation GOATs,
Right.
LeBron is no question in this generation. He's definitely the best player that has laced it up.
Totally stole all my thunder, but that's okay. So I'm 40, right? You're in your 40s. Right. So I've seen both in their prime, right? When I got into basketball, Jordan was in his prime. So I saw both in their entirety, right? Which a lot of these younger guys haven't, right? That's right. They see clips of Jordan, but they don't realize how good he was. So I am very much a generational GOAT, right? Jordan was absolutely the GOAT, right? There was no one close to him. And to me, LeBron is the GOAT for his generation. I didn't see Bill Russell. I just know that there was like 8 teams and he was, everybody was smoking in the locker rooms.
He was flat out dominant.
Yeah. Right, exactly. But, was he the GOAT of his generation? Absolutely. Was Kareem the GOAT of his generation? Absolutely. Like some of these facts are hard to fight, but I've seen LeBron, I've seen Jordan. They're 1A and 1B to me. There are things that Jordan didn't have to go through that LeBron has, mainly social media. Right. If the spotlight of social media was on Jordan when he was doing his stuff, would he be as squeaky clean as he is in a lot of people's eyes? Probably not. Right? There was a gambling, infidelity, like all this stuff would have been front page news every single day thrown into his face. And LeBron, here's the other thing, right? I love the debate of, well, LeBron wouldn't have been as good if he played in Jordan's era. Well, okay, first of all, he's the most athletic person that I've ever seen play basketball, right? So they would have been good regardless. Yeah. So people, I'm sorry that this isn't going to be Skip and Sharp yelling at each other about who's the greatest of all time.
Right.
But if you're a reasonable person, Jordan is the GOAT. LeBron is the GOAT. You can fight me all day on it. They are 1A and 1B. End of story to me.
Right. And I saw one guy make the argument that they thought that LeBron has faced more competition. And I just didn't understand that, because if you ever watched when Jordan finally broke and got to the finals, I mean, he had to play against the Celtics, who they couldn't beat for a while, and they played rough, and Larry Bird. And I mean, Larry Bird was still coming to the end of his prime, but he was still Larry Bird at that point when Jordan started playing. Magic and the Lakers were still doing their thing. Then the Piston Bad Boys were just beating them up every year, and Michael Jordan got the weights. Like, that's the difference with some of these people. And one reason why I think LeBron fits in there is because when LeBron first started, he didn't have as much of a jumper, and the next thing you know, now he's shooting out there where Steph Curry and Dame Lillard are shooting. And I think that some of the greats, just like Kobe even, is they see their game and they want to be the best. They believe they're the best, and when they get criticized, they don't go and cry about it. They go be about it, and they build their game up. And Michael Jordan is no different. He got in the weight room. He said, if they're going to beat us up and the refs aren't going to call it, then we got to be able to beat them at their own game and then some. And he finally got over that hump. So to say he didn't have any adversity when there's a lot of great players in the 90s that are all Hall of Famers that were his competition, then I think is also a poor argument for some of those people who are anti-Jordan, pro-LeBron. But it is generational, and it's hard to compare people when they played with different levels of competition, different levels, different rules, shot clock era, 3-point era. You have flagrant foul era where there was no flagrant foul, so they had to create one. all these different things went into how games were played in these different eras, and you can make an argument for any of them. But again, I think Jordan is definitely 1A. If you don't like 1A, then I think Jordan's 1, LeBron's 2.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I my other favorite thing when it comes to LeBron is like, oh, he's not a scorer. Really? He's not a scorer? Like, does he have a Steph Curry jumper? No. Is he possibly going to be the all-time leading scorer in the NBA before he's said and done? Yes. Like, his jumper has improved. He hits clutch free throws. Like, just every argument that stands, we'll call him Jordan stands, LeBron stands. Everybody just needs to chill out, accept that he is a great player. And honestly, the NBA is going to be hurting when he hangs it up. All right, guys, that's going to be it for us for this episode. But make sure you hit subscribe, like the video, leave a comment below. Did you enjoy the bubble finals? I did. I'm really happy that they did it. Showed the NBA's greatness that they pulled it off to begin with. I mean, look at the NFL right now. They're having to move games all over the place. So props to them. 2020 season is in the books, but mid-range game, Brent and Dean, we're not going anywhere. We're still going to have weekly content for you guys, and we're going to talk free agency. We're going to talk who could challenge the Lakers next season, all sorts of content for you guys. So subscribe, hit the bell notification, and we'll check you next time. And since my man Brent usually has quotes on the ready, I'm just
I got one for you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
It's kind of obscure, so I don't know if you'll know what movie this came from, but it's put the knife away and shut your mouth.
I like that. Okay, I have no idea what that's from. Zero idea.
It's hard. It's gonna be a hard one, but
I'm gonna have one too though, and I'm just gonna repeat what LeBron said last night, which is, "I want my damn respect." I loved it.
No.
All right, guys.
Finally, he spoke up about that.
For Brent, I'm Dean. We are Mid-Range Game. Peace.
Peace.